You're speaking to the teachers, you have to make sure that you know what you're saying, and your job, I have to put my foot down to tell them that I love my child as much as you do, and I'm doing everything I can to make sure that he gets his classes. The children that God blessed you with, that you brought to this country, they're no longer in your custody, and social service has taken it away. So be careful when you bring a gun to a pillow fight, because it might not end well. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to today's video. My name is Genevieve. If you're meeting me for the first time, nice to meet you. And to my returning subscribers, you guys are the OGs. Welcome back to the channel. Please, if you're new here, I encourage you to click the subscribe button and also turn on the bell notification so that whenever I post a video, you'll be the first to know it. Okay, I'm a YouTuber based in the UK and I share lifestyle content and also my experience living in the UK, motherhood and all that good stuff. Trust me, this is a place you would love to stay. So I encourage you to subscribe and be part of the community. Okay, you guys, on today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys some of the mistakes that you should avoid as parents, as mothers, in the UK to avoid losing your kids. So childcare mistake that you should not make, else you will lose your kids to the UK government, you will lose your kids in this country. Okay, this is something you would want to watch. I encourage you to watch this video to the very end. I'm sharing my personal experience and I encourage you to watch so that you will not make the same mistake. Generally, childcare is a conversation that you really need to have with your spouse before moving to the UK, because it is a very serious conversation here. Children are the number one citizens of this country, and remember, your kids are your kids when you're with them back home, but once they land Heathrow or whichever airport that they land in this country, they are prioritized. They are Prince Charles's children. They're no longer your children, if you get what I mean. So what am I trying to say? That you can't just afford to be flippant or behave anyhow with them, just like you will say, they're my kids and I can do with them whatever or however it pleases me. Unfortunately, you cannot do that. You can't function like that here. While I understand that most of the things that we do as parents is for the best interest of our children, but because of where we are living and the country that we've moved into, we have to behave like the Romans when we get to Rome. So in this country, there are some things that are prioritized and some things that are looked out for to be sure that your children are well taken care of. And is the child always timid? Is the child, when I say timid, not someone who is naturally quiet or timid. Now, when somebody is being abused and that abuse is driving the person into being timid, you can tell the difference. So when a child is being timid, when a child looks hungry or looks unkempt, is not properly taking care of its shoes, and these are certain red flags that can draw the attention of the necessary authority to you, and before you know it, you're being questioned. I have heard stories of people whose children have been taken away from them. Okay, it can even be you and your spouse having issues and you escalate it, and before you know it, your home is not fit for your children to be raised, and those children can be taken away from you. So before you run around to make your family problem a community problem, you really need to think about all the things that can come out of it, because it's easy for you to try to get to your spouse, but at the end of the day, you find yourself in trouble, you find your kids in trouble. The children that God blessed you with, that you brought to this country, they're no longer in your custody, and social service has taken it away. So be careful when you bring a gun to a pillow fight, because it might not end well. If you see me looking down, that's because I wrote a few things down and I don't want to miss any point at all. Okay, so first of all, you have to maintain the custody of your children. On this video, one thing is to maintain custody of your children, to raise them in your own home. That is one part of having your children, not losing your children. And the other part of not losing your children, please forget the noise, please, my windows are open. And the other part of not losing your children is not losing your children to the societal veil or whatever it is that is going on in the world out there. So I'm talking about the moral aspect of it, raising them to be morally sound, okay, to retain our values, our core values. Purpose of this video, I'm going to be focusing on custody, because custody is the major thing. Custody is just the in thing, right? People are scared, and every little thing can make you to lose your child. Firstly, you can't neglect your kids. You just cannot neglect your children. There is no reason why you are not going to be home and your kids are going to be left home. I think up to age 13, you can't leave them at home all by themselves. So someone has to be with the kids at all time. Like, yes, someone has to be with the kids at all times. So these are conversations you have to have with your spouse as to how are you going to manage childcare. It's either the both of you, if the both of you are working during the day, the child has to, or the kids has to be going to daycare or going to after school care. What most people do is that some persons work during the day and then others during the night, so that they can take turns in taking care of the children and you don't have to pay for childcare, because childcare is so expensive. I can take myself for example. Assuming I have to work and my husband has to work at the same time, and 3 of my children has to go to maybe a childminder or a crèche or a daycare or after school care, whichever one. I can imagine how much you will have to be paying on weekly or monthly basis, as the case may be. That will be very expensive. Work out something that you can sustain and work for you and your family and your spouse. It is completely up to you, but you cannot leave your children at any point in time unattended to. You can't leave them you can't leave them. It's categorized as neglect, as abandoning them. You can't just leave them without supervision. So you cannot also ignore the health and safety of your kids. So the house where you're living has to be safe enough to have your kids in it and make sure that they are safe. So that's another thing. You can't, it's if you decide to live in a house that is not safe, it's fine for you, but once kids are involved, you can't just live anywhere. It has to be up to a particular standard of safety and also a healthy environment for the kids to grow and thrive. You have to make sure they're eating good food. You have to make sure that all the legal requirements are being kept up to date. The legal requirements needs to be kept up to date, hospital appointments, doctor's appointments, all that stuff needs to be kept up to date, because these are things that can give space for red flags. You can imagine a teacher is complaining or telling you something about your child. A particular time, Jeremy's glasses got broken, right? And I tried to book appointment for him to have his glasses replaced, and then it was very difficult. We went for several tests, but Jeremy was not staying at a place and the test was not conclusive. So for like a few weeks, Jeremy was staying without glasses. If you saw the way the teachers were calling me and asking me, they'll be questioning me. Why is Jeremy's glasses not on? Why is his glasses not on? I will answer them. They will ask my husband. They will ask me. They will ask Jeremy. They will keep asking and asking and asking. And I'll tell them that if you want to speak to the clinic, you can as well speak to the clinic. If you think I'm not doing a good job, I have to put my foot down to tell them that I love my child as much as you do, and I'm doing everything I can to make sure that he gets his glasses. So if you're speaking to the teachers, you have to make sure that you know what you're saying and you're in charge. If they get any sign that you don't know what you're doing, you're neglecting the children, or you don't care, that's a red flag. So I had to put my foot down and tell them, no, I am doing everything I'm supposed to do to make sure that he gets his glasses. I really want him to get his glasses, because without his glasses, he keeps bumping into things and he's not seeing properly. I know that. So I'm doing everything I can to make sure that he gets his glasses, okay? So you can imagine that if I didn't know what I was doing, with the way the teachers were going with that thing, that's a red flag that they can even take it up and say that this woman is not looking after the child and all of that. So you have to make sure that you are up to date with appointments. You know everything that is happening in the life of your child. This is not even time for you to, both parties, both mother and father, even though mothers know more than that always, but then just know all. I also had a situation where I was making my hair one day and Jeremy ran into me. I was holding this lighter and the lighter touched his neck. Now, this was at the peak of winter. This touched his neck and gave him a light mark on his neck. Jeremy was wearing a hood and also he was wearing a shirt in. Like, when the teacher called, first of all, the teacher called my husband and asked my husband what happened to Jeremy's neck. My husband explained to her everything that happened to Jeremy's neck, right? And then within like a minute, immediately they hung up with my husband. They called me, and I was there when they called my husband. They called me and asked me what happened. I gave them the same story, which was exactly what happened. So why are they calling? Just to see if there's contradictions on the stories that I have told them. Guys, this thing, it is just, see, you have to know, you have to be aware of these things. For every time a child is being taken away from the parent, there must have been a gap. Maybe not intentionally, but it's just that red flags would have come up that would have given them the opportunity to come and get in to see how the child is doing, or to show that you're not capable of taking care of your child. So the point I'm trying to make is, if you have your kids in this country, you cannot afford to be lazy when it comes to your kids. You have to be up to date. I know that as human beings, we might get tired and we might make mistakes, but make sure that your child is getting the basics of all things. They have good clothes, they have good food, and they are whole kids. One thing I must also appreciate in the culture of raising children in this country is coming from someone who is an advocate of intentional parenting, conversational parenting. You know, I prefer conversations to basmouche when it comes to parenting. Okay, so coming from that aspect, I really appreciate the way they raise their kids. You see, my son, when you talk to him, sometimes he will tell you things like, "Mom, I think your tone was a little higher." Yes, my son tells me things like that. I think you went too hard with the way you said it, you know, and they're helping me to, you know, bring down the Niger aggression, small, heal from my inner child too, that was shouted and screamed at by my own parents. So the whole thing is helping me to also heal, because aggression actually doesn't get the best results in most circumstances. So while we want to embrace the rod, as the Bible says, spare the rod and spoil the child, there are different ways for you to exercise the rod besides hitting the child with the rod. You know, there are different disciplines that you can give to these children. Like, in fact, the way I discipline my son self, most times it will be better for him that I do that what we do back in Nigeria. But the ones here, I'm enjoying it soft. I don't have to shout. I don't even have to be aggressive. But I just set boundaries and things you can't. I just deny you of things like things you love, and I know that it will touch you very well. Next time, you have to think well before you know how to keep your mouth to talk to me or to behave anyhow, if you get what I mean. Let us also try to embrace the good and the advantage of the parenting style of the Western world. There are a lot of wounded children. Most of us are still wounded. Like, most of us as parents are still trying to heal from the childhood trauma that we saw as normal. We didn't know that. We saw it as normal growing up. We know the things we saw as normal growing up. You know? I needed to look deep down into the culture of the Westerners. There is something that you will learn about how to raise your child. Add it to what you have, bring out the best, and raise your kids in the way that they will be better and they will stand out for you, the future generation, among their peers. Okay, I wish you all the best of luck. Your kids will not be taken away from you. All of us that came here with our children, we will enjoy and reap the fruit of motherhood and parenting. All the sacrifices that we've made will not be in vain, and it will not go down the drain. Please do not throw caution to the wind. Have a wonderful day. Okay guys, stay blessed. If this video has helped you in any way, please click the subscribe button and subscribe to my channel. Share this video to someone in the UK that needs to see it, and don't forget to like it. Plenty instructions. I will see you in my next video, guys. Bye.